welcome to another episode of the RunTok Live podcast. It's like three friends at a bar catching up after a long week, you know?
There's been a ton of stuff.
Yeah, it's been a very busy last few weeks, hasn't
The
it?
world has been through some changes since we last spoke. Chase, you did, I know it wasn't during the eclipse, but you did a eclipse themed 5K.
Boston happened yesterday, so that's fresh in everybody's mind.
You just did the Carmel Marathon and came away with a BQ, man. I took my first spin bike class yesterday and got completely humbled.
What happens when three runners
From different parts of the country,
with different running stories,
all get together?
pure.
RunTok.
madness,
So listen in as we talk about all things running related.
and some things that maybe aren't running related.
As it's bound to be a good time. This is
RunTok Live. And welcome to another episode of the RunTok Live podcast. Guys, it's good to see you guys.
It's been forever.
Yeah, it feels like it's been forever.
Feels like it's been forever, yeah.
So
That's why
much has been
we're just
happening.
doing the three of us right now. Maybe that's why it feels forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great having guests on, but I feel like, you know, it's like three friends at a bar catching up after a long week, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
good to connect.
Yeah.
Good to connect. And there's been a ton of stuff.
Yeah, it's been a very busy last few weeks, hasn't
The
it?
world has been through some changes since we last spoke.
Pretty crazy.
So you guys were both I think Chase, you in particular, were really in the path of the eclipse, right? But you, I don't know, Carolyn, you too, maybe?
Well, Carolyn was, yeah.
Yeah, we were both like 100% in the path.
Yeah, we had 4.5 minutes of totality, and I was shocked because, like, honestly, to be completely 100% transparent with it, I was a little. My town has been talking about this for years. Like the last 2 years, they've been talking about it, planning for it, and I was to the point where I really thought it was just overhyped, and I was just like, this isn't going to be that cool. But in the end, it was a pretty cool experience. I'm not going to lie, it was pretty neat to see and to witness. So I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, they had all of our kids. I mean, our school district didn't cancel school for it, but they had permission slips that kids signed or parents signed, and then the district got Eclipse glasses. So every school in the district put on their Eclipse glasses, went outside, and got to see the whole process. So
yeah, it was pretty intense.
And then Chase, you did, I know it wasn't during the eclipse, but you did a eclipse themed 5K, correct? Is that what you got on? Oh yeah, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Solar
Yeah,
eclipse glow 5K.
Yeah, so Saturday night, of course, like I said, my town took it pretty seriously. The whole weekend was filled with, our main street, which, our town is, historical. It was actually the first capital of the state of Indiana before Indianapolis was built. So my town of Vincennes was, it's got a rich history involved in it. So our downtown was hopping. They had all kinds of crazy stuff going on. And we went down there Saturday night, and they had a 5K and like a beer and wine tasting, beer garden type thing. And I had a few before the race, and I had a few after the race. So it was a
race.
Do what?
There's a part of me that wishes if I could do it all over again. Granted, the eclipse wasn't the same here in Florida as it was for you guys, where you were. But I wish I ran during the eclipse, just so I can say I ran during the eclipse.
Yeah, no, Chase, I was asking if you remember the race, if you had your tastings before and after.
They were just tastings, so I think I had like 3 of the tastings before and like 3 of them after. So not like whole glasses. After the race, they were pouring me some pretty full glasses because the guy that was our bartender for our wedding was one of the guys serving the tasting. So he was being pretty generous too.
Must have had a good wedding if he was treating y'all well.
Oh yeah, he was great. He was fantastic. But yeah, we had the 5K. I won. even with having a few drinks. So that's why I got the hat. I got the hat for winning. But like, it was a good time. And we had there's some high school kids out there that gave me a run for my money, but I wasn't about to let that happen.
And it's a pretty dope hat too. I like that. I love the trucker hat look. So
Yeah, it was a good time.
well, meanwhile, what did I think I had a? Oh no, I didn't have a race. No, I did have a race. I had a race called the Wine and Chocolate 5K.
Yeah, that's
and
right. You had that wine and chocolate race.
Yeah, and they give you a glass of wine afterwards with a custom wine glass. You know, that instead of a finisher's medal, you get the wine glass. I don't drink wine, so it didn't do anything for me, but it was fun. It was a cool thing. You know, good time.
Yeah, I would be all over that.
And apparently there was the Boston Marathon. I guess that apparently happened.
A marathon in Boston? What?
Yeah, I guess it's a big deal there. I don't know.
That was just yesterday at the time of this recording. We we were still talking about stuff like a week and a half ago, and yeah, no, Boston happened yesterday, so that's fresh in everybody's mind.
Now, did you guys watch the marathon in real time on TV?
No, but I tracked people.
You were tracking people?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I checked in on people at lunch and saw a few people finishing already. So
yeah, I had it playing. I was working, but I did have it in the background on TV. So I wasn't 100% focused on it, but it's always a good time watching it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you, Carolyn, I was also tracking quite a few people. I feel like half of Florida went to Boston to run it this year, which apparently it was a pretty warm Boston Marathon this year.
Yeah, in the 60s.
You know,
I feel like it may not have been quite that warm 2 years ago when I ran it, but it was pretty warm that day too. But yeah, it was a warm weekend. It was a warm weekend overall.
Yep. Well, what were some highlights that stood out to you guys in Boston?
Well, the first back-to-back winner on the women's side in how many years? Or was it ever? I don't think it was ever. Was it ever?
I feel like
Helen
maybe.
Obiri, yeah, she back-to-back Boston winner.
It's just wild, man.
And she was rocking the new On Cloud prototype shoe. So
okay, so they haven't released those shoes, or have they?
No, they haven't. It's still a prototype, I think.
Okay, I think Des Linden was doing the same thing because she was wearing some Brooks that I've never seen before. So I think everybody was kind of testing out new shoes.
And I did. I mean, it looks like Ethiopia was at least on the men's side, the runaway winners. The women's side, it was Kenya 1, 2, 3.
And I was seeing somebody said that if you trained in a warmer climate, you would fare way better on the course than if you trained, in the north or, somewhere with colder climate. Because a lot of these runners had winter, early spring training cycles. So their bodies weren't equipped for this weather. So some of my friends that were Texans did extremely well, or, maybe they positive split, but it wasn't by a lot. And some of my friends who live in the north, hit that wall really hard, struggled to kind of battle that heat. So, I don't know if that played a factor in, the Kenyans or Ethiopians winning, but, they're used to training in warmer climates, which is very to their advantage.
Yeah, it definitely probably gives them a bit of a leg up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and me being in Florida, for the most part, the runners I know that I was tracking, they all ran pretty good times there and had little complaint about the weather. It was, the few runners that I was tracking from New York that, were definitely on the hotter side there. And then, of course, our fellow companions, through TikTok that were not from Texas or Florida, that ran there and definitely had a lot to say about the heat.
Yep. Yep.
I personally hope, because I will be doing it in 2025, and if it could be a repeat weather year, like I would love that weather to run in up there.
I mean, as long as it's not raining or miserable, I feel like you'd have a great day.
I don't mind rain as long as
Anything's
it's
better than
not.
his last experience.
Yeah, as long as it's not a downpour.
Yeah, so I'm supposed to run a 5K this weekend, and there's a 65% chance of like thunderstorms. So that's gonna be fun.
Make sure you wear
So,
something grippy, some grippy shoes.
jeez.
Just run faster to get it over with.
You know what? That's good advice. Just run fast.
Just run faster. That's all you
It's
gotta do.
it's
Is
like
run
what
faster.
our guest said last week, Jeff, or our last episode. Jeff said, when you hurt the most, that's when you need to run the fastest. So
No, he's right. He's right, because if you start walking, stuff starts hurting, you get stiff. So, I mean,
yeah.
excellent advice. I mean, he crushed it at Boston. For the listener, he was, I mean, dude has a perfect training cycle. He's run Boston 75,000 times, and I saw he did a 2 hour and 46-minute marathon at
246.
Boston.
Okay.
For who? Who is this?
That was Jeff.
Jeff,
Oh, our guest
Yeah.
Jeff. Yeah.
our guest Jeff, yes.
Yep.
Tomaszewski. Did I get that right? Tomaszewski.
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 I
Yeah.
can spell it. I don't know that I can say it. I could
Well,
spell it after
hopefully
typing out the description so many times, sharing our videos. But
Hopefully our listeners listened or watched that episode and took his advice to heart, because it was awesome advice. And I'll definitely be taking it with me when I'm doing Boston in 2025, and hopefully you are too, Carolyn.
That's cool. And speaking of BQ, Chase, you just did the Carmel Marathon and came away with a BQ, man.
yeah, I did. I guess it was a BQ, so I can be proud of that.
Yeah.
It was pretty hot for me too, though. Like it was a warm day.
So let's take a break from Boston. Let's talk about Carmel for a second. Walk us through your personal experience and then just the marathon as a whole.
Well, I mean, my personal experience, obviously, it didn't really go my way. I was kind of aiming, the whole point of this whole training block so far this year was, obviously last year I had a lot of injuries, a lot of setbacks. So this was a healthy training cycle. I wanted to PR for sure. But really I kind of wanted to just prove to myself that I was back in some good shape. And I was really eyeballing Chicago as the place that I wanted to PR. So that's what this race was really about to me. And it just, I just didn't have it. I mean, that's really all that there is to it. I tried some new things though, too. And that's what I'm trying to, like, as far as positives to take away from it, I'm trying to use it as a learning experience, because I honestly took a lot of notes from, some of our guests, really. We look at, Rob Dalto, who, he just ran Boston. He creates his own fuel, his own gels. And I kind of did the same thing. I got one right here that was left over from the race, but I've been kind of doing that my whole training block, but I've really been training on not gels, not your traditional gels, but applesauce and Sour Patch Kids really is what I've been taking on my long runs, and that's been it. So for the marathon on Saturday, I kind of made my own little fuel packets, which Rob he cooks his and really turns his into like a gel. He really makes legit gels for his runs. I just kind of took some fruit, some strawberries, bananas, mixed it in with some green tea and some honey and some CBD oil for some inflammatory aspects, and took that out on the course with me. And not that didn't work, but I also kind of tried to hold off on my fuel a little bit longer. So that was the other thing that I tried that was a new kind of strategy for me. I didn't really take any gels until well into the race. I focused more on hydration in the early miles and then focused on fuel in the later miles. And I ran out of gas. So I don't think that was necessarily the right decision. So, but on the positive side, like my strategy for the race, I wanted to take it out really slow and really controlled and relaxed, and I was able to do that. I was right where I wanted to be through 6 miles and then through 12 miles. And that's how I had it broken up. I was trying to do 6-mile increments and slowly kind of ramp it up from there. And, I felt really good at 6 miles, felt really good at 12 miles. But it was somewhere between like 13 and 15 where, I kind of started to realize like, hey, these aren't feeling as comfortable as I want them to right now. So I tried to back off a little bit and conserve some energy and maybe give it another go at 18. I just didn't have it in me. Tried to go again at 20. I kind of felt like I had some energy at 20, but my legs were really hurting. And, that's the other thing that I got to figure out too. This is probably, I don't think I've ever been in so much pain after a marathon as I was in this one. And if I was, I don't remember it. So again, 20 miles, I tried to go, but my legs were just in pain. My legs were hurting, like legit hurting. And then I tried to go again at like 23, 24, and my back was hurting. So, not 100% sure what was causing that. Maybe it could have been related to the fueling as well. But yeah, so that was kind of my race. And the thing too, and I know, yes, I BQ'd and people say those things. I got a lot of compliments about how, my time. A lot of people are happy to just run 26 miles. A lot of people are happy to just be able to break 3 hours, and that's all well and good. But the way the way our sport works is we're not really racing against other people all the time. A lot of times we're racing against ourselves, and just the fact that I really did feel like I had a great training block and that I was back and that my conditioning was back. I truly do feel like I was in 245 shape, that I could have ran a 245, and but it just didn't happen on that day. And it felt to me, and it did most of the weekend, that like I was the loser at the Super Bowl, not trying to compare myself to professional athletes, but that's how it is, right? You have such a great season, you have such a great training block, and then on the big day, you just don't get the job done. And, but like I said, a lot of things to take away from it. Good learning experience. Now I know, if nothing else, I know what doesn't work. So, so we'll try to take that into Chicago.
It's trial by error. Do you happen to know, because you for the most part made your own gels, like were you able to calculate what your like the carb count was, or sugar count, anything like that?
No, I really didn't go that much into it. And I didn't really try that specific formula in any runs leading up to the race either. I was just kind of going off of theory, really, I guess, personal theory of what was going to work. So no, I didn't calculate any of that stuff. And kudos to people like Rob that can do that and make their own and have it down. Because Jake, I think I saw you comment on the same post that I commented on for Rob, where he had like a bunch of gels made out. I think he had 8 or 9 of them made. And I was just like, dude, that is a lot of gels. That is a lot of gels
on there too.
Yeah, but after my Carmel race, I went back and I commented again. I was like, well, what I did didn't work, so I'm not. Who am I to tell you what's wrong? So, but he was doing exactly that. He was counting out his carbs down to like he had it precise, like a science.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think for the most part, right? Like obviously it didn't work for you, but I think for the most part, if you train to a certain condition, like if you train to a certain process and get your body to be adapted to that by the time of the race, which it sounds like that's where Rob was at, right? He's adapted his body to his nutritional process.
Yeah.
So it works for him. So like we can look at that and be like, dude, 9 gels, like that's crazy. Like I bring 6 with me max. 5 is usually my number, but it works for him, right? So
and that's
and
kind
he's
of what I was
talking.
going with too. Like I said,
Yeah.
I did my whole training block with applesauce and Sour Patch Kids. I mean, I think I used my last gel up in like January and didn't buy any more after that. So, probably not something that I'm gonna pursue for Chicago. I might still train that way, but as far as race day, I'm probably gonna re-implement some of those SIS beta fuels back into my race. Yeah, there you go.
I just got the SIS neutral flavor, so
Yeah.
apparently it's like more of that Morton kind of taste. Well, I haven't
Oh.
tried it yet. I'll let you guys know. We'll see. I got the orange flavor here too, but this one I know I
Yeah.
like.
But no, the race as a whole was a good time. I met Jay at the expo on Friday. He's really tall. He's probably your height, Jake. But met him, talked to him for a little bit. He gave me some advice, not just about like the expo in general, but like how to navigate the traffic in the morning and what time to get there, and that was really helpful. So I appreciate that and appreciate him coming on the podcast. I got to be like right next to, like, when I finished, I was really close to like the EMT group, and I got to hear some of like the calls, which was kind of a scary situation, right? Like I got to hear them get called for some of that post raise, the things you hear about people not doing so well. There was that they actually got called to the beer garden at one point, so we're just like, oh, somebody got done and immediately started pounding. But that person ended up being fine. They had a seizure, and they ended up being fine. There wasn't any. I had talked to Jay. I was texting him the next day, and he confirmed that there wasn't any fatalities. So that's, as sad as that is, that's a reality, right? That's a possibility. So he said that was all good, but it was a pretty successful day for the Carmel Marathon.
Awesome. Maybe one of these years I'll get up there for it.
It was really hot. Like I said, it was another hot day, and the sun, that's probably another thing that I did too. One, probably the first race, and I don't know how long that I decided not to wear a hat. Don't ask me why. I just randomly decided not to wear a hat that day, but that was the wrong decision too, because a good chunk of that race, especially in the second half of it, is just wide open. Like there's no shade at all. So it was the sun cooked me.
Oh, Carolyn, I have a off-topic question that I was thinking of. You turned 29, is that right?
Yes.
How does it feel to know that you are just months away from being in a new age bracket in that 30 to 34 division?
I'm terrified, honestly. Not for myself, but the 30 to 34, and I mean, even in your age bracket, Jake, people are stupid fast. And it's like, I mean, for my 5K this weekend, I'm like, well, crud. There's going to be a bunch of like college graduates and stuff in my age bracket that are probably going to smoke me. So it's very humbling.
What I've noticed as I've gotten older, Chase, I don't know if you've experienced the same thing. So when in my younger time, there were always those one or two like really fast people in the age group, like the 15 to 19, the 20 to 24, the 24 to 29, or 25 to 29. There's like one or two really fast ones, and then a big gap between them and the rest. As I've gotten older, like 35 to 39 and now 40 to 44, there's just a lot of people that are all like within the same skill set, like the same ability. So I say my 40 to 44 age group that I'm in now is probably the most competitive age group I've been in, because there's the most competitive people in that age group.
I agree with you. So I did a 5K back in November, completely bombed it because it was like right after Chicago, so I was exhausted. And the top 2 runners in my age group were like 2 or 3 minutes faster than I was, and then you have me, and then the 4th place person was like 2 or 3 minutes slower than I was. So I was like, okay, well, in the 30 to 34, that's not going to happen, you know. So
So Chase, if you're okay with it, how'd you do as far as your age group goes at Carmel?
Oh man, I don't even know. I know I got 138th overall. I think 128th or 138th overall.
Okay, that's
not
solid.
bad,
I
man.
didn't even really look at my age group. So yeah, and again, in the grand scheme of things, 138th out of 3,000 people is pretty good. I get it,
Yeah.
but still well off where I wanted to be. And but like I said, it's a learning experience. I got a lot of things to look at, a lot of things to work on, and we'll do better in Chicago.
Well, we've got what, about 6.5 months to really figure that out. So
Almost 6 to the day, isn't it?
well, October 13th, so it should be almost 7 to the day.
Yup, my coach
May,
has already
June, July, August, September, October. I think you're one
yeah,
short
man.
there.
My first
I can
35,
math, I promise.
but no, I've already started my training block for it.
You already started yours?
Yeah, I mean, we spent the last couple months base building, and this week is my first 35-mile week, and we'll start building from there.
So any thing either of you are going to be doing differently? I know, Chase, you're talking about nutrition, but it sounds like we all have pretty big goals for Chicago. Anything you guys plan on doing differently to train for this particular block for Chicago?
I think so. I trained with a group this past Chicago, and that worked well. And they stopped a lot. So I think I'm going to train with that group again, but I'm not going to stop as often as they stop. So if they stop, I'll keep running just so I get used to just continuous running.
Yeah, and like I said, this whole training block for me was kind of about making sure that I'm kind of back in the shape that I want to be, and in that regard, I really got back to basics. I really just focused on the running and just doing what I needed to do to stay healthy. So what I'll probably do from here on out is I'll start looking at implementing some of those more intricate things that we need to do a little more often, a little bit more strength work. I'll work on my nutrition. I've already been in talks with Paul about, how we need to kind of tweak the training moving forward. So yeah, we're kind of bring some of those other extras back into the training cycle that I didn't have in this past one.
Yeah.
I think,
Well, I'm glad you said strength training because
yep.
I got a spin bike, guys. It's not a Peloton, okay? I didn't want to be part of that community, but it's a spin bike. So I took my first class
Oh, do you one
yesterday.
of them?
No,
I'm gonna
okay, I say that and I'm gonna have a membership next month. But I took my first spin bike class yesterday and got completely humbled.
Oh yeah, they're pretty intense. My mom does, like, she teaches spinning classes at the YMCA, and I'm shocked that she does what she does. Like, it's unreal.
Like, I thought I had endurance until I got on the spin bike, and they were like, okay, pedal as fast as you can for 30 seconds and then up the resistance. And I was like, I was dying. Okay, it was not a good situation.
All right. Well, in other words, listeners, Carolyn will be a Peloton member within the next couple of weeks here. So, is it Peloton? Is it Peloton?
Peloton.
I don't
I think it's
know.
Peloton. You got to watch the commercials, just like the Temu Super Bowl commercials, and make sure you watch the commercial to make sure you pronounce it right.
It will always be Timu, okay? It
It was Timu. After seeing like the 5th Timu commercial, I was just like, okay, I get it. All right, we've been pronouncing it wrong the whole time. Please show another commercial already.
Oh,
What about you,
man.
Jake? What are you going to be doing in your training to prepare for Chicago?
Honestly, I'm gonna not focus so much as like trying to get to 90 miles. Before I'd be like, all right, I got to get to 90 miles, for peak, or 85 miles. I'm not going to worry so much about that. I want to focus more on some quality workouts, um, and getting some faster stuff in as far for my training block. And I know there's the 80-20 rule that's out there, and it is a legit rule, but I think I'm at a stage now where I can't, my body can't afford to do a lot of slow miles. Like if my body's going to take a beating, I want it to take the beating on some quality workouts. So I am going to be doing some more like stretching, some more just body maintenance stuff that I haven't, I've always focused on a little bit, but I haven't focused on a ton of. And I've been doing it lately, and I contribute that to why I'm finally starting to feel better all the time. Going to the chiropractor, doing massage, just little things like that. And then I'm going to do some more quality workouts, do a tempo session, a speed session, and probably some sort of hill session on a weekly basis, as part of my workout routine. That'll be my big thing. And then really just focusing on my mental health. I think the mental stuff is really what's been my own roadblock in the past, not sleeping enough, being a dad. My daughter's finally at an age where I can focus a little bit more on me and not feel bad about it. So it's a good time. It's a good time to potentially run a quick marathon for I'll be 44 at that point in time.
Yeah, I think that's a really important aspect that people don't necessarily take into account when it comes to race day specifically, because the marathon in general, right? We've talked about it before on this show, how we like the half marathon. We really love the half marathon because it's like the right distance for us. But the full marathon is like a whole nother beast. And as far as just being mentally ready for a marathon, and I kind of said the same thing this weekend to my wife after I got done. I was like, you know what? I think in order to break 240, I'm going to have to legit be in 230 shape, because I don't know if I can mentally make myself fight that hard to get to 240. But that's part of it. We got to do those we got to have ourselves in the right space mentally too.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you pointed that out, because all the marathons that I've bonked on has been, when I've been in between depression medicine or testing things out. And it's like, Chicago went pretty well, but I wasn't on a new depression med. So I get that mental health aspect for sure.
Well, and we really, the mental aspect of running in general, it's a real thing, right? It's a real thing. But with marathon training, and I'm one of these people that do this too, so I'm a victim of what I'm about to say. We rely so much on the watch, right? And especially when marathon training, and you look at all the videos on social media, and they're calling out their time every single mile. And it's very easy to be feeling great and look down at your watch and see that you ran 20 seconds faster than you're supposed to, and then mentally go into panic mode. And now you're all of a sudden trying to over adjust or under adjust. And I feel like it would almost be more beneficial if you're training properly. You probably know what a 7-minute pace feels like, or a 6:45 pace feels like, and then just go out there and do it and not look at the watch and not create that potential mental roadblock for you. I don't know that I personally can do it, but I could see the benefit of that being a training method. Don't train off the watch, or train off the watch, learn what the pace feels like, and then just go out and race it without looking at the watch and not risk that mental block if you happen to go a little too fast or a little too slow, and just go run it.
Yeah, so my coach has been putting on my speed sessions that I'm not allowed to look at my watch. And she said, just go off, feel. And at the end of the workout, you can look at your pace, because it takes, people don't realize this, but it takes a couple seconds away from you to look at your watch, steady yourself, and then keep running. Whereas if you don't look at the watch, just keep going, you've got all that energy headed, forward.
It was definitely something that I struggled with during the training block too, because like you guys know about the issues that I've been having with my Garmin, but just the inaccuracies that like and it's not just Garmin, right? Like GPS watches are a great tool that we can use, but they're not perfect, right? Like so
Mhm.
there were times where my GPS was clearly wrong, so I had to like force myself to really go off feel and tell myself, look, I know what kind of effort I'm putting in right now. Ignore the watch, ignore what it's saying, and just do the workout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and talking about running on feel, I recently I made a video a while back, not recently, about how you'll know you're getting faster because your easy runs will get faster without the effort increasing. And in my opinion, one surefire way to do that is on your easy runs, don't run off of your watch, run off of feel. Because I've noticed it the last few weeks. If you look at my Strava, I'm going out for easy runs during my lunchtime. I'm bringing my watch, but I'm not looking at my watch. And all of a sudden, I'm doing 7:15 paces, but my heart rate is still right there. I'm feeling great, and I'm running off of feel without actually pushing my body to do it. And all of a sudden, I'm running faster without focusing on my time. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Is go off your body, man. Just go what you guys feel like. Go where your head is telling you to go, where your gut's telling you to go, where your lungs are telling you to go, not where your watch is telling you to go.
Yeah, and I know you say not to train off of heart rate, but I've started putting my watch on the heart rate screen so I can't see my pace. And it's helped a lot, because it's not like I'm trying to stay within the parameters of, my true easy pace, but it's like, well, if I can't see how fast I'm going, I'm not going to worry about it,
Well, the reason why I say it's hard to trade off heart rate, and I know we're going off subject here, but let's talk. Let's roll with it. The reason why I feel like it's hard to train off of heart rate is because your heart rate is never going to be accurate according to your watch. If you're doing that, chest straps are always going to be better. Number one, but number two, your heart rate, if it's hotter out or colder out than typical conditions, your heart rate's going to be up. That's not an indicator of what shape you're in. If you're running uphill or downhill, your heart rate's going to be up. Again, it's not an indicator that you're out of shape or in better shape. So all those things are kind of false data that it's telling you something that it's really not true. So take heart rate training, a little seriously, but don't make it the focal point of your training.
I agree. But it's good to hear you're getting faster, Jake. So we're expecting 240s out of you at
Nope.
Chicago.
You are not. We're expecting low 250s is what I'm shooting for. So,
We'll take it.
my A goal is to be 250. My B goal is to qualify for New York City, which is 257. No, 258. I technically have a New York City qualifying time, but literally by 13 seconds is what I did in Indianapolis. But I'd like to have a larger New York City qualifying time.
Yeah, speaking of that, did you hear that New York Roadrunners is no longer, or they're trying to phase out the half
The half
marathons?
marathon. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Like the half marathon qualifier, is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're trying to focus more on the full marathon. And I think the only half marathon time you can qualify with has to be, is it a New York road running time or is it a non? It's one or the other.
I haven't looked at the details, but from what I'm hearing, that's the case. And it's not official yet. It hasn't happened. It's just they're, discussing the possibility of making that a reality.
Well, everything too surrounding New York. I mean, New York is the biggest marathon in the world, right? So,
Yep.
and as great as it is, and as big as our sport is becoming, and as awesome as it is to see all these races get bigger and bigger and bigger, there's a breaking point, right? There's a point where there's got to be too much, and we've seen it in other headlines with the New York City Marathon and the toll situation with the toll roads and them wanting to charge for that. And you kind of you see the point, you understand the point, because the more people that get into this race, the longer the race drags on, and then the more money that this place loses. So you sympathize with them a little bit for that, but
Yeah.
then on this topic, if they allow people to just keep getting in off of a half marathon time, then it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, or they're going to have to deny more and more people. So
Yep.
like you said, Jake, I think it should be a full marathon, or it should have some kind of the New York Roadrunners. What is it? 9+1? Is that, or
Yep.
is that what it is? 9+1? Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. It requires you to put a fair amount of effort into it just to get in. So, and I appreciate that, and that's why I like Boston. I like the the fact that you have to qualify, but also other people can get in too, but you can't just let everybody in.
Well, and we brought it up before, and Chase, I know you brought it up before. It really is a testament to the fact that A, runners are getting faster, and
Mm-hmm.
B, more runners are just surfacing, period. Like more runners are coming up. And with that comes change that we just kind of have to expect. So it's like Chase said, it's either this or, make the standards to get in even harder.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is step one. I feel like inevitably they're probably going to have to make the standards to get in even harder. We're not there now, but that would be phase two, right? And I
Yeah.
really, really think Boston is on the verge of doing that within the next couple of years.
Oh, for sure. Another good example of that is Disney, right? Disney
Oh yeah.
signups were last week. Jake, you're not doing Disney next year, are you?
No, but I had a little nostalgia when I saw everybody posting about how they got in. This is literally within like 4 or 5 hours. And I was like, let me just go take a peek. And, if the half's there, I'll sign up. No, everything's sold out. Everything.
So here's the story. This is, I guess, another story that I can share in the past week. So last Tuesday, a week from today, or a week ago today, was the Disney sign up for the non-Run Disney members, right? Every 5 years, my sister and we made the pledge to do the Dopey Challenge. So 2025, that was the next one up. We started up. I do the crazy person thing. I got my laptop trying to log in. I've got my PC trying to log in. I've got my phone trying to log in, and I get in finally after about 45 minutes, I think, of waiting. And by the time I was done, the Goofy Challenge had filled up, which the Goofy Challenge, for those who don't know, is the half and the full. And the reason that filled up first, because usually that's the last thing to fill up, but the reason that filled up first is because this year was the 20th year anniversary of the Goofy Challenge. So there's some kind of special swag that they're getting. But anyway, I got in to Dopey. And after I got in, I got my phone got in. So my sister hadn't got in yet. So I started signing her up. And before we got finished signing her up, Dopey was full. So my sister did not get into Dopey. She did sign up for the full marathon, and then she went back and signed up for the half marathon. And then my brother, he was able to do the same thing. So they're doing the half and the full, but they didn't get in as a part of the Goofy Challenge. So they don't get credit for the Goofy Challenge, but they're still going to go. They're still going to do the half and the full. And right now, I'm the only one that's doing all 4 races. So So we'll see. I've always said that I wanted to race a Disney race. So that 5K day or that 10K day may be my. I might end up going all out for one of those. We'll see.
Do it. Maybe you'll be racing against what's Nolan. He'll go down there.
I didn't
Put
see
in a
if
full effort.
he tried to do it again.
I don't know, but I could see him doing it. I'll go down there and I'll support you, Chase. I'll watch. I'll do. I don't think you need to do a shakeout run for a dopey, but
4 days of running.
if you want to get a couple miles in, let's do it. For the
I figure I
listener,
could
if you
probably.
don't,
The way I see it, I might do the 5K as like a shakeout run, and
there you
then
go.
race the 10K, and really see if I can maybe make the Disney 10K my 10K PR.
Chase, just
then,
in case there's a listener or viewer that does not know what the dopey challenge is, you want to say or just explain what that is a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I realized I didn't do that. Thank you for saying that. So the dopey challenge is the entire Walt Disney World Marathon weekend. So every January during Disney Marathon weekend, they started on Thursday. They do a 5K Thursday morning. They do a 10K Friday morning. They do the half marathon Saturday morning and the full marathon on Sunday morning. And the dopey challenge is you do all 4 races.
And why do people do the dopey challenge?
Because we're dopey. That's why.
Because you're dopey.
My brother, so like I said, my brother got in, my youngest brother got into the half marathon, the full marathon. We were trying to get the whole family to do it, but my younger brother is kind of I mean, he is who he is, but his girlfriend just did the princess half this year. And so he chimed back. He was like, I wasn't impressed with the princess half marathon, so I don't think I want to do the dopey challenge. And I was like, dude, it's because you're not a princess. That's why you didn't like the princess.
I don't know. Carolyn, do any of these Disney races appeal to you, even the slightest?
No.
No.
I always say that. Listen, it comes down to money. Like, I don't know if I want to drop like thousands of dollars. Like, I'm already dropping $1,000 to do Chicago, and it's like you don't even get admission to Disney World. If I got admission, maybe that would change. But
yeah, that is one of the unfortunate things about the Disney races, and we've talked about it before. We did a whole episode devoted to Disney races, so you can go back and check that out. But the perks to doing the Disney races are slowly dwindling, and it's becoming less competitive too, which is great for the beginner runner. It really is. It's great for if a person wants to say that they've ran a marathon. Disney's a great one to do it at. It still is. But it is, like you said, Carolyn, it's a big commitment financially. And, I said it straight up to my wife before we signed up. If I wouldn't have got into dopey, that would have been it for this whole tradition that me and my sister, wanted to do. So, I'm happy that I did. But yeah, I could definitely see it, not happening next time around,
Yeah, and I think it's different though because you have family that you're doing it with. So that kind of adds another layer, that adds a bunch of memories. It would just be me. And if my husband joined me, I wouldn't want him to wake up at 3:00 in the morning every day with me, But if I had like family and stuff, it would be way different.
Yeah. But you also talk about like the financial aspect of, doing these races, period, like I think that's the reality of it as well. I think that's something that we don't talk about enough, or that the community doesn't talk about enough. We see a lot of these influencers that are jet setting all over the country and all over the world to do all these fantastic races. And it's really good. But, the reality is that most of us can't do that. So you have to pick and choose which ones you want to do. And, it'd be great if you want to make Boston your race every year, then save up and do Boston every year. That's fine. But, people like myself, I'm trying to do, all 6. So, I have to think about how I'm going to save up for that next one. So, you take it from
It's
there.
kind of like if you guys have ever seen on the internet, it'll show the side-by-side pictures and it'll say Instagram versus reality. And it showcases a tourist attraction on Instagram versus a tourist attraction in reality. And it's the same thing with running. Like the influencers, they do, I'm glad they're having these experiences and they're hyping these things up and it's fantastic. But there's a lot of gray that they're not talking about on there, right? Like they talk about the rainbow, they don't talk about the the gray underneath it. So, and there's a lot. There really is a lot of things to consider.
Yeah, a lot of them are, they're going over the things that are going to get them clicks. And it's not hating on it. They're doing it because a lot of these guys are trying to make a living doing this thing, right? So,
Yeah.
they got to do what they got to do to make money. But that's where, you as the individual, the normal person, need to be able to differentiate that, and really decide what your goals are and attack those.
What I will say, for anyone that's looking to do a race for the first time, whether it's a Disney race or some sort of big race, I mean, don't rely on the social media aspect for it, but do go into the forums because there's all kinds of, go to the Facebook pages that are devoted to that race. Disney, of course, has the Run Disney Facebook group. Go to the groups and see what people are really saying about it, because they usually will say the good and the bad. They'll ask the questions that maybe you're thinking of that you're too afraid to ask or you think it's naive to ask, but you're not the only one thinking it, at the same time. So that would be a good tip. Look online, look at the comments, go to the Facebook, go to the groups, go to, don't just go to the influencer.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't just listen to us on this podcast either. These are just three
Absolutely.
people with three opinions. So
exactly. Do your own homework, and that that goes for everything in life. Do your own research, do your own independent thinking and studying for yourself, and come to your own conclusion. But listen to us because we know a lot.
Well, we all have our different reasons, right? Like you've heard me and Chase, you just talked about it, why Disney's becoming less and less appealing to me as far as the races go, because the reasons I love doing it are slowly going away. The competitive aspects, right? They're dwindling. But most people don't care about that. They go there. They care about getting their pictures with the characters and, going into the park and hopping on a couple of rides while their race is going on. Like that's what they care about, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like if that's you, this is the race for you. It's worth it.
Yeah, and that's actually brings me to why I ran the New York half a couple weeks ago, is for fun, because I feel like all of these races, every time I've done Chicago, it's been to PR. Every time I've done Houston, it's to PR. So I've never run a race just for giggles. And like when I ran New York, yeah, it was super expensive, but I jacked around. Like I took videos of the Brooklyn Bridge, Times Square. I acted like an idiot. Like took a bunch of videos and pictures and stuff. Just so I could kind of see that aspect and enjoy a race. Because I feel like a lot of these races, like Chicago, this past year was the first time I actually looked around because I'm like so focused on the finish line. So it was kind of nice to just, fun run like a touristy race.
Good stuff. I can't wait to run with you guys in Chicago, though.
Yeah. No, we're not having fun. It's Chicago. Okay?
Yeah.
We've all determined that Chicago's serious. We'll have fun before, we'll have fun after, but during the race,
There's no
serious.
mercy. You're like, is that Carolyn on the ground? I'll come back with her after I cross the finish line. I'm sorry.
Inching to the finish line?
Tough it up, Carolyn. Tough it up.
Just throw a gel at me. It's fine.
I wouldn't do that. I'd pick you up, Carolyn. I want you to know that.
I appreciate that.
and actually, no, I'm lying. I probably wouldn't, but I would go get help for you real quick at the next aid station. Be like, hey, my friend Carolyn's about 2 miles back. You might want to go check on her.
Man. Chicago. Okay, so for the listener, the last 4 miles of the Chicago Marathon are a down and back. So, you're having a solid time at mile 20, already dying, and then all of a sudden you see people running on the opposite end of the street, and you're like, are you kidding? Like, I have to run all the way down and all the way back and see all these people. So, that's going to be real hard.
Hey, when we get to Chicago, when you go and you sign your little name on the board, do that thing.
Yeah.
We have to sign RunTok. I mean, we can sign our individuals, but we need to put RunTok on there. We got to mark our territory.
I did in Berlin. I mean, it was just me, but I wrote that on the Berlin Wall. Not the Berlin Wall, right?
Yeah, just like that, Chase is going to prison. So. Oh, man. What else, guys? Anything else? Boston, Disney, Carmel,
Eclipse. Yeah, I think we kind of.
Eclipse. We haven't bashed on Brooks, but yeah, we'll leave that one for later.
That's a good topic. We're talking about Chicago. We're talking about things that we're gonna do. Shoe preview. What are you guys thinking for? I know that's 6 months away, but I rocked the Vape 3s, and that was another thing that I did differently for Carmel. Was this is kind of the first A race that I've not worn, or the first like goal race that I've not worn a fresh pair of shoes for. My Vape 3s actually had about 40 miles on them going into Carmel, and I'm not gonna lie, they kind of felt a little flat, a little dead.
So I've been wearing the Vape 3s my last couple of 5Ks, and I'm going to agree with you, Chase. They're a little flat feeling compared to the other vapor, like the previous generations.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, I haven't wore the Alpha series for a while because they felt kind of flat to me. But the new Alphas
look pretty nice, don't they?
The new Alphas I like.
Oh yeah,
I've only done easy run in them, and then this weekend I do have a 5K, and I think I'm going to test them out with 5K work.
See, I'm kind of leaning towards the Alphas as well, but I'm considering and it's still pretty early to tell, but I'm considering maybe a brand change. I'm liking those Asics Metaspeed Sky, Metaspeed Edges.
There's I know a lot of runners,
really
here
liking them right now.
Yeah, they're wearing them, and a lot of them wore them for Boston too. So,
but since I didn't like the Vape 3s, I'm probably not going to like the Brooks Hyperion Elite or
same
whatever.
Shoe, just one's called Brooks, one's Nike.
Those are still a fast shoe, but they don't lose. I mean, I've only worn them for a half, but I mean, I had no problems after the half, no pain. So I'm wearing those for my 5K this weekend.
How much do they cost, Carolyn?
They're like $250, I think.
Is it the same price as the vapes?
Okay. But CJ Albertson ran those in Boston and what was top American.
Yeah, he was top American.
Beat his PR. So
just guarantee you, if you threw on the Vaporflies, he would have ran the same time. Just saying. Come up with some originality, Brooks. Come on.
The guy who won Boston, Lemma, he was wearing those $500 Adidas shoes. I don't know what there's like 5 different names to them, but I just know them as the $500 ones.
Is that the one?
Adidas Adios Pro Adidas Adios Pro Evo 1, something like that.
I would not pay $500 for one wear on a shoe.
No.
Like, that's how much my car payment is. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find what they were wearing, but I'll have to look it up. That'll be next time.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
want to say, I think it went for the men's side, it was Adidas, Nike, Adidas, 1, 2, 3. And then on the women's side, it was On, and then I don't remember. Can't remember who it was after that. But Nike didn't sweep the podium, obviously, or anything. So it just shows you that everybody's catching up. Everybody is catching up. We've talked about that before too,
So it's the Adidas Audio Zero
That's it. I
Audios
knew I was
Pro
forgetting an A word.
3.0. Yeah, Pro 3.0.
Yeah.
Good grief.
And then the Cloud Monster, Vaporfly, Next% 3. Those were what the top 3 brands were from the top finishers. Adidas, though, man, they're coming on strong.
They are.
And Adidas is the brand. It's been a while since 2018 since I ran it, but that's the Boston brand, right? Like that's what their clothing line is through.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just remember the 3 stripes on my jacket, so I'm assuming it's Adidas.
Who's the brand for Chicago?
Nike.
Nike.
Is it Nike?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Nike.
Ooh, okay. I don't know if we have time to unpack this today. Maybe we talk about this later, but the new Nike Olympic men's and women's uniforms. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts, Carolyn? Let's start with you.
I've seen the terribly dressed mannequin. And so there's a pole vaulter. Her name is Katie Moon. Yeah, Katie Moon. And she was talking about it. She had an interesting take, and she said, they just dressed that mannequin terribly. And she was saying there's like 30 different options that you can wear. But she was like, out of all the 30, they literally just picked the worst option that they could possibly pick. And I was like, what intern picked that design, man? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like Nike dropped the ball just with that post.
I mean, she is right. We've only seen it on a mannequin. And maybe that particular picture is when the AC in the room shifted the uniform slightly over, or I don't know. But when all is said and done, it looks it's not right. I don't know how else to say it. Like
it looks so bad.
It's kind of cheap looking, and the my beef with it. Here's my beef with it is like all the ones that they displayed looked the same, right? Like the USA and the Kenya jerseys look the same, just with different colors. And I'm not saying that you have to have like however many countries there are, 150 countries, 150 designs, but like the fact that you debuted the same design on 2 different countries was just a little weird. I think you need to. They should incorporate some more, I guess, cultural kind of aspects to it.
Well, aside from the lack of material that the women's uniform consists of, which is very obvious, especially in the crotch area. To your point, Chase, I think of Jamaica. And one of the things that always stands out to me when Jamaica competes in the Olympics is their uniforms. Because their uniforms pop. Their uniforms are always on fire. Like, I love their uniforms. USA hasn't really had a pop-in uniform, and especially the designs that they're showcasing now. Like, yeah, stand out a little bit. So I never thought of it that way, but since you brought it up, you are right, because I always go back to Jamaica. Like, I can remember what their uniforms looked like the last couple of years because they were memorable. Like, but yeah, to the women out there, I hope they make some changes. They got time to do it for the sake of your physical attributes, number one, right? Like that looks like shapeage central. And number two, it's just degrading. That's really what it boils down to.
That's how I felt too. I was like, okay, well, what man is gonna wear that? I mean, if you're gonna have a woman, like it almost looked like something that Kim Kardashian designed.
You know what? You just gave me an idea, Carolyn. And I feel like there's a TikTok video in the making here to make
So
a point.
I am looking at some that have like the shorts on the women too. So there's a couple different designs, and to counter my point earlier about them all looking the same, I'm looking at a Germany kit right now that looks a little bit different, but it's still got like the same print as the USA and the Kenya jerseys. But there's, of course, a couple girls with the briefs on that you guys are talking about that are very minimal, but then there's a few girls with the shorts as well, like the boy shorts, I guess is what you call them, and then one girl with tights on. So it looks like they are going to have some other options.
Hope so.
Just, I wish they wouldn't have just shown or posted what they did. Like, pick another option.
Well, and are they going to have requirements based on your events? Like, obviously, I don't want to say obviously, but I don't think the marathon runners or the 10K runners are going to be wearing the minimalist uniform. I just don't see that from a physical perspective being an advantage. But what about the field? The field athletes, the high jumpers, the pole vaulters, the javelin throwers. I could see them doing it. But what purpose? I guess my question is, what purpose does it really serve to have less in that area? Like, does it? And I don't know. This is me being naive. Maybe there is a purpose that I am not aware of, but I can't think of one off the top of my head right now.
And more to the point, the models that I'm looking at that are actually wearing the actual uniforms, none of them are wearing that specific style that we see on the mannequin. So yeah, I think they will. But yeah, you're right. They shouldn't have. They should have done some better marketing there.
Yep, they can give Tracksmith a high five in the failure post department. Jeez.
Oh man. Well, guys, I feel like we've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have
episode.
had a lot of different topics. Good variety here. We're like a
That's
real
what
variety
RunTok Live
show.
is all about.
We're a variety running show now.
Well,
well, guys, Carolyn, I don't know if you want to let the world know where we can be found.
yes, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at RunTok Live. You can email us at runtalklive@gmail.com. We're also on Spotify and YouTube at RunTok Live. You can find me on Instagram at Carolyn M. Levinway and TikTok at Carolyn McDuff.
Now, can you repeat that in your best Siri voice?
I'm sick. Let's see. Man. My announcer voice isn't as strong today. Fine.
Just joking. And Chase?
You can find me at Chaser No Pacer, basically anywhere on social media. That's kind of my go-to, and I think that's everywhere. So I'm gonna try to be a little bit more now that Carmel's done and out of the way. I'll probably be a little bit more active again. So
come on back.
Won't be
to
as
TikTok,
social media
Chase.
shy anymore.
We miss you on TikTok. Come on back. And you can find me at The Cultural Runner, same thing as Chase, on all social media platforms, mostly on TikTok, though. And, yeah, come follow us. Follow us in some way, shape, or form.
All right, this has been another episode of RunTok Live. We'll see you on the next episode.
Peace out,
Deuces.
guys.